It's been a wild couple of years for the game of golf with the emergence of a controversial league and players being banned for joining it. We've witnessed some really nasty verbal spats, protests, lawsuits, and even counter-lawsuits. However, in a shocking twist of events, the PGA Tour and LIV Golf announced a massive merger that will undoubtedly affect the golf world. Stick around because the motive behind this merger will totally surprise you. From spending billions of dollars to unify global golf to ending all of the current lawsuits between both tours, golf's civil war is seemingly coming to an end. Or is it? At some point, it was almost like golf was imploding, and pundits predicted that there was no way the sport would survive the chaos. But despite all the rancor, the PGA Tour, DP World Tour, and LIV Golf are now merging into one entity to unify global golf. And guess how they're doing it? With the help of the Saudi Public Investment Fund, also known as the PIF. Yes, the very same PIF that has been criticized for splashing so much money on golf. The apparent merger sent shockwaves through the entire sports world, but the apparent result was two rival golfing leagues suddenly working together in the world of men's professional golf. But is the merger a cover-up for other activities occurring behind the scenes? Well, while the public statement makes it sound like there's actually a merger taking place, this is what you might get if you read between the lines of the announcement. The PGA Tour and LIV Golf have agreed to a deal that would allow the funders of LIV, which is the PIF, to dive into men's professional golf by forming a new enterprise that branches off of the PGA Tour and the European Tour. This means that all three golf and tours would be operated through one main entity, which would be something that is completely new for everyone involved. However, this means that Saudi Arabia's public investment fund will suddenly have a ton of control and influence on men's professional golf in North America, mainly because they will have a seat on the board of directors. And if that doesn't pique your interest, we're not sure what will. Because at first, it seemed like the Saudis were just interested in the game of golf, hence taking up the responsibility of funding LIV Golf. And according to the prevailing narrative amongst the rebels, they deserved better than they were getting on the PGA Tour. Hence, if another tour was willing to reward them with a chunk of cash for playing fewer events, then they should go for it. However, recent developments reveal that this was only a ploy to fund golf in America and exert total control. That being said, the general consensus is that the whole merger was a much-needed move for the sport. Do you know why? Well, it's because not only does it end all the feud in one single move, but it's also going to solidify the future of the sport in the long run. Not to mention the amount of money that's going to go into this new entity now thanks to the PIF. There's no way anyone else can even stand up and start another venture like LIV Golf. Like, that whole thing is done and dusted, and we're going to witness golf turn into this giant thing over the next few years. But in all seriousness, the merger announcement took everyone by storm, including Tiger Woods, the most vocal critic of LIV Golf, and Rory McIlroy, who is also a member of the tour's advisory board. Like the rest of the world, they only became aware of it when the news made the headlines. However, there are still questions as to why, how, and when this got done. So here's what the merger means for golf's dominant forces, its star players, and everything in between. Starting off with what this means for the PGA Tour, the merger can be examined from three different perspectives: the business aspect, the impact on the game, and the involvement of government entities. On the business side, the specific operational details and differentiation between the PGA Tour, LIV Golf, and the DP World Tour are yet to be fully clarified. However, a new commercial entity will be created to oversee all three entities. While Al Rumayyan will sit on the board, Jay Monahan will be the CEO of the new entity. This entity, which is yet to be named, will act as a parent company and will operate and oversee the entire operation. And this is where PIF's money comes in. The PIF will fund the new entity, which in turn means the PGA Tour. This will see the injection of over 640 BN, significantly impacting the tour's purses, player earnings, and other financial aspects. However, the tour's operations on the golf course are not expected to undergo major changes, as it will retain administrative control, including event sanctioning and policy enforcement, with Monahan remaining as commissioner. Currently, there is no information about upcoming changes to the PGA Tour in the coming years. This includes tournaments, sponsors, contracts, and other aspects. In a letter by Monahan, he suggests the idea of introducing team golf into the PGA Tour, similar to LIV Golf's format. But this leaves us with yet another salient question. What happens to LIV Golf? And with Monahan leading the tour and Al Rumayyan on the board, what happens to Greg Norman? You see, at this moment, it's safe to say that the hierarchy of LIV Golf is somewhat unclear. Initially established and funded by the PIF, with their involvement and that of Yasser Al Rumayyan on the PGA Tour's policy board, it may appear that Al Rumayyan sits on the throne for all of golf. However, with Jay Monahan assuming the role of chief executive in the merged entity, he technically becomes the boss of LIV Golf and all entities under the umbrella. That leaves Greg Norman, who has been the prominent figure of LIV Golf since its inception, dangling somewhere in the wind. Interestingly, LIV Golf's chief wasn't mentioned in the initial press release, and Al Rumayyan admitted to informing Norman about the merger shortly before his scheduled appearance on CNBC. The future of LIV Golf is uncertain at best and precarious at worst. According to documents submitted to the U.S. government as part of the merger, the future of LIV is in the hands of the PGA Tour and Jay Monahan. Monahan has expressed doubts about LIV Golf continuing as it is in 2024 and beyond, suggesting possible changes or even the tour's cancellation. However, even with Monahan in control, it is the Saudis who provide all the funding, giving them the influence to make important decisions. And this didn't go down well with various groups, particularly families of 9/11 victims. The group has held a series of protests and written letters to the rebels to boycott LIV Golf and its blood money. However, none of the golfers echo this sentiment. They simply believe that their participation in the rival circuit is solely about playing golf and nothing more. But what's the biggest takeaway from the PGA-LIV merger? Well, for starters, Monahan has been called out for being a hypocrite. A few days before the launch of the Rebel Series, here's what Monahan had to say.
You know, any player that has left or any player that would ever consider leaving, have you ever had to apologize for being a member of the PGA Tour?
But nearly after a year of throwing tantrums, sanctioning players who ditched the PGA Tour, and taking digs at the Norman-led Rebel Series, here's what he had to say.
Is a decision that I think is in the best interest of all of the members of the PGA Tour.
Did Monahan just say the decisions were in the best interest of tour players? Well, maybe he didn't mean all the players, because Rory McIlroy, the man who found out about the merger just like everyone else, begs to differ.
PGA Tour irreparably harmed this tour, started litigation against it. Like, we can't just welcome them back in.
So this is Rory basically saying we've been hurt by the players who left, but still, we remained loyal to the cause of the tour. And right now, the players don't belong here. Apparently, he holds a grudge against the series that may not go away, not anytime soon.
Hate LIV. Like, I hate LIV. Like, I hope it goes away.
But let's face it, everybody got paid. The defectors got hundreds of millions of dollars. And the PGA Tour players, on the other hand, got what they wanted. because the presence of the rival circuit forced the PGA to go to elevated events with more prize money, so everybody got paid. The other thing is, even if everyone disagreed on a timeline, we all saw this merger coming in one way or another. Just like there was for the ABA and the NBA when the ABA was a threat once upon a time, or the merger between the AFL and NFL when the AFL threatened the American football empire. So there was going to be a merger in golf, and there is. However, it's understandable for the tour stars like Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods, Colin Morikawa, Jon Rahm, and a host of others who have been incredibly loyal to the tour to feel a sense of betrayal. Let us know in the comments your stance on the merger between the PGA Tour and LIV Golf.